of Terror is Disney's first immersive ride, and you might be wondering why, since we got Haunted Mansion and It's a Small World. But what makes Tower of Terror stand out is that Tower of Terror is the very first attraction to actually invite you into the story, as pointed out by Instagram account Captain Jack Bricksparrow. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but he did mention very clearly that when Walt shows up on the television screen, he is like, and tonight we invite you into your very own episode of the Twilight Zone. And back in 1994, that was very groundbreaking and innovative, just because it was the very first ride to invite you into the attraction rather than you just sitting in the ride vehicle and being very passive, like what we saw for It's a Small World, Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, and even Pinocchio's Darling Journey, where you literally just sit in a ride car and watch the story unfold. But yet, when it comes to the Tower of Terror itself, you are literally being invited into your very own Twilight Zone episode, and you're actually encouraged to participate, especially when the doors open to the hallway scene, and the narrator says, "You are the passengers of the most uncommon elevator ride, about to ascend into your own episode of the Twilight Zone," and just hearing the word "you" means that the ride cannot happen without you being the passengers. And if you're not riding the ride, well, the story cannot go on. Then what's really interesting is, as the ride car ascends to the fifth dimension, the narrator says, "And these doors open once again, and this time it's for you," meaning that if you're not in the ride car, well, the story would not make any sense. And as you go through the fifth dimension, you may have noticed this really dark circle in the hallway scene. That is actually a camera, where as you go into the fifth dimension, you might also notice this gigantic blinking eyeball, and all of a sudden the picture of you in your ride car magically appears, which actually makes you a very active participant in the ride, because if you're not in that ride car, poof, like I said earlier, that Twilight Zone eye would have nothing to capture or no story to immerse you in. And that is like what really stood out based on what Captain Bricksparrow said. Definitely a tongue twister. And then what's really interesting is that we take this thematic storytelling for granted, such as in Mission Breakout, Rise of the Resistance, and even Swirling Saucers, as the aliens take you for a swirling saucer ride, that we completely forgot just how innovative, just how groundbreaking an attraction to have you being part of the story is, especially back in the 1990s. And what really blows me away about Tower is that it was like the very first attraction to actually include you as the writer into the story. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and be sure to smash the thumbs up button, especially if you enjoyed Tower tidbits, trivia, and fun facts. And we'll see you in the next video. Woo!